Welcome and thank you for joining me today. Imagine stepping into a forest surrounded by nature's untouched beauty, only to stumble upon something that turns an ordinary hike into an extraordinary mystery. A hidden staircase, a dark tunnel, and a discovery that links to a secret buried for decades. Stay with me as we unravel this remarkable tale, one step at a time, starting with a man named Peter Smith and a walk through the woods he will never forget. Every weekend, Peter Smith drives dozens of miles from his home in Herron to a forest near Great Falls, Montana, to go hiking and explore the beautiful surroundings. Peter is a lover of nature, and he likes to take long walks in the woods. He almost always goes alone, including this day. It will be a day he will never forget. As always, he walks along the beautiful creeks and rivers in the forest. Normally, Peter has a fixed route, but today he plans to take a different route a little deeper into the forest. The forest is very big, and chances are that Peter will lose his way. The forest is tens of miles in size and has several paths that all lead elsewhere. This time, Peter wants to get off the path to see more of nature. Just to be sure, he has informed a friend that he's in the woods. If he doesn't return in one day, the friend will call the police. When Peter has walked about 3 kilometers into the forest, he comes across an abandoned barn. It seems like no one has been there for years. The wood of the shed is completely rotten, and the black paint is gone. Then, a little further, he sees an abandoned stone building. Since he is all alone and has a very bad telephone connection, he thinks it is a risk to just enter the building. First, the building could collapse when he goes inside. Second, there could be someone or something in there. But Peter is naturally curious, so he decides to take a look. A few meters from the abandoned house, Peter sees something in the bushes. Because of all the vegetation, he cannot see exactly what it is. It looks like an old fence with barbed wire. He walks a little closer to see what the object is. Once closer, he sees that the object is a staircase. The stair is completely covered with moss and weeds. The bottom steps are completely rotten. It looks like the stairs have been there for years. At the bottom of the stairs, he spots something shiny. It looks like something made of metal. When he removes the plants at the bottom of the stairs with his bare hands, he sees that the metal object is a shutter. With all his strength, he pushes the stairs a meter to the right so that he can open the hatch. There is only one problem. Peter is a muscular man, but he still has trouble opening the hatch. He tries several times to open it with both hands on the handle. The handle is smooth, and his hands slide off it all the time. The hatch just won't open. Peter decides to try something else. He finds a steel pipe a little further, and with all his strength, pushes the pipe under the handle and tries to use it as a kind of lever. After more than 3 tries, he is lucky. The hatch suddenly opens, and to his surprise, there is something down there. He is looking straight into a big dark hole. He quickly searches for his mobile and shines its light into the big hole. He sees that a staircase descends a few meters. Peter spots a kind of stair. It looks like an old wooden staircase. There seems to be a kind of corridor, but Peter can't see the end. He knows that anything can happen when he enters the tunnel. Maybe the tunnel is decades old and about to collapse. Yet, this thought does not prevent him from entering. Carefully, he enters with the light of his cell phone shining in front of him. He walks step by step through the tunnel, hands out in front of him. He slowly moves on. There's a scent in the tunnel he has never smelled before. Where does the smell come from? There seems to be no end to the tunnel. Peter has now walked about 40 meters in pitch darkness. Suddenly, he sees something a few meters in front of him. It looks like rays of the sun. He walks towards the light. Peter quickly approaches and soon sees that there is a wooden door with 2 windows in it. One of the windows is broken, and the other is full of dust. He looks for the door handle. A few seconds later, he finds it. The door is open. It turns out to be the end of the tunnel. Peter comes right in front of the abandoned stone house. Peter finds it strange that the stairs do not end in the house. His feeling tells him to take a look inside the house. When he arrives at the front door, he sees that the door is ajar. That's nice because now he doesn't have to break it open or smash a window. He doesn't hesitate and quickly pushes the door open. His mouth falls open in surprise when he sees what's inside. To his great surprise, most of the furniture is still there. The ground is full of rubbish, and there is a foul, musty smell. He searches every corner of the house, but nowhere does he find any private property that allows him to determine in any way who this house belonged to. He continues to search undisturbed until he comes across a staircase that leads to a room below. Step by step, he walks down the dark stairs. He can barely see anything and uses the light on his cell phone as a flashlight. When he observes the dark space, he notices a large object in the corner. He slowly creeps closer. He comes closer and sees that it is a cube-shaped object, 3 feet high and 2 feet wide. The object is completely covered in dust. Peter carefully wipes the dust off with his hands. Then he recognizes the shape of the object. What he finds, he never dared to dream. It's a safe with a combination lock. The safe is covered in dust, and the door is closed. To his surprise, the safe is unlocked. He slowly opens the door. What he finds inside will make you scared. The first thing he sees when he opens the safe are banknotes, countless of them, stacked on top of each other. They are wrapped in plastic. At first glance, they look like US dollars. Peter estimates it should be around $3,000. Peter pushes past the notes and comes across a box about 1 foot in circumference. There is a small keyhole on the front. There is an old key on the lock. Peter tries to open the lock with this key. Fortunately, the lock still works. When he opens the box, he doesn't believe his eyes. There is a weapon at the bottom of the box. Is it real or a fake one? Peter is not very familiar with weapons, but he immediately recognizes the shape of a revolver. And that's not all. The revolver is completely made of gold. Peter carefully lifts the pistol out of the box. The weight of the gun is unreal. He barely manages to keep it in his hands. He carefully opens the cylinder with the 6 chambers, and guess what? There are 3 bullets left in the cylinder. The cylinder is built to lodge 6 bullets. Maybe the other 3 are already used. Peter quickly puts the revolver back in the box and continues his investigation of the safe. He notices something small in the back of it. He shines his light from his cell phone toward the back of the safe. He does not really see what lies there in front of him. When he approaches the object with his hands, he notices the musty smell of it, like the smell in the tunnel. The object looks like a backpack. The bag is completely moldy. Peter takes the bag out of the safe very carefully. He now sees that it's an old school bag. The bag is made of leather and has several small pockets. Curious, Peter opens the bag and takes out some documents. At first glance, there don't seem to be any special documents. Then he sees what they are: passports. But there is something special about these passports because they are not U.S. citizens. There are ID documents from countries all over the world: France, Germany, Brazil, but mostly many Russian passports. Peter doesn't understand. There aren't United States passports among them. How come? He opens one of the passports and sees a Russian name, Andrei Rosov. The name doesn't ring a bell. Is it a real name? The photo of the guy looks real. Then he opens another one, hoping this one will tell him more. The first thing he sees is a photo of a man. He looks sporty and quite young. Peter estimates he must be around 30 years old. As with the other passport, this man has a Russian name, Igor Nikolov. What's going on here? Curious, Peter opens the bag further and examines more documents. They are still passports from different nationalities, but no U.S. citizens. Later, Peter decides to inform the authorities. He speaks to a detective who is eager to hear Peter's story. An appointment is made, and they meet that afternoon. Peter tells him the story and shows the items he found. The detective's reaction is priceless. He can hardly believe Peter's story. How is it possible no one has ever found the house? Additionally, he finds it strange that no data about the house is stored anywhere. Normally, every case is recorded. The detective becomes obsessed with the passports and has them examined by specialists. The revolver is also examined, mainly for fingerprints, and the money is stored in a safe. Peter is told that he will be called when they discover something. After more than a month, Peter receives an anonymous call. He answers, and it's the same detective. His voice is excited, and Peter immediately knows he has something special to share. The detective begins to explain what they found out. After weeks of research, they finally discover who owned the house, passports, and other belongings. Peter is flabbergasted. The house turns out to have been the hiding place of a Russian spy during the Cold War. Herron police partially turn the case over to the FBI. They conduct a large-scale investigation and end up in Russia. From there, the Russian police take over the case and conduct a large investigation to find the spy's relatives. After a few weeks, they make progress. They find his real name, Lev Orov. Peter listens carefully as the detective continues the story. The spy appears to have died a few years ago. Due to improved relations with the Russian Federation, the police decide to transfer the items to Russia. Peter can hardly believe the story. He is thrilled that the Russians searched for the spy's family. It doesn't take long for the police to find the family, who come from a small town near Moscow. They visit the spy's daughter and her husband. The daughter, 56 years old, is obviously surprised by the incredible story. The family is very happy to receive the documents and passports of their kinsmen. They even send a thank you letter to Peter for his efforts. Peter feels relieved that he has now learned the story behind his special discovery. It's a tale he will share with relatives and friends many times. The dilapidated house is eventually demolished and the land is returned to nature.